Welcome, everyone. This is once again your host, Shailesh, bringing you live amazing speakers from all around the world, and talking about the life journey. The topic is called Real Connections, where we interview people or talk with people or interact with people. Real connections is about real people, about real experiences, about real wisdom. So today I have the pleasure to invite one of our neighboring countries, which is in Australia, Chiara, to talk about her life journey. Now, telling you a little bit about Chiara is she's a medicine woman. What does that mean? We'll uncover that from her. She's a musician, body artist, a wife, and mother. So, what a journey we're going to uncover today. Welcome, Chiara, for this beautiful conversation that we're going to have today with you. And would love to talk to you and interact about your life journey. So, tell me something about you first.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, brother. It's beautiful to be here. And I'm excited to have this conversation with you. Just anything about me?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's a very broad question.
Tell me something about who you are, and what do you do, basically.
Okay, so I am Chiara. My medicine woman and musician name is Kia Lara.
Oh, yeah.
Medicine woman who runs with the dingo.
Mm-hmm.
I am a tribal woman of earthly origin, representing mixed bloodlines and recognizing that we are all indigenous to this planet and we are all earthlings and one family and one tribe.
Yep.
I give my medicine in many ways. I've got a lot of passions and a lot of projects and things that I'm able to give to the world. So I'm really blessed to be able to offer tattoo sessions. I've been doing tattooing for 20 plus years now and bringing consciousness to body art and creating ceremony and ritual around the initiation of tattoo and body art. I also play music and have been doing music since I was a young child. I come from a family of musicians. My great-grandfather was quite a well-known choir composer in France. And so I've been singing in choirs since I was 4 or 5 years old, and then musical theatre, and then playing in bands, and then busking on the streets. And now I play music in medicine ceremonies and do sound healing with my music. I also practice a variety of energy modalities and do distance healings. I teach people how to do energy work. I do in-person chakra balancing and body scans and finding what's going on with people's energetic bodies. And I also teach and coach shamanic practices and how to navigate the realms and the dreaming and how we create through these invisible spaces.
Absolutely. So you can see all the listeners are listening to you, Chiara, and what a journey. So we will have to come back and uncover a lot of things that you are doing currently, which you have come to this level of what you do. Not just one thing, but different fields, not just embedded with music or only medicine or body art and all that. So you're creative, one thing we can understand, but also how did you come this far? So let's go back to your life journey. Let us uncover what was here, as you mentioned before, that yeah, as a child, as a surroundings, surrounded with musicians in your family, in the blood, it is there. So let's uncover what Chiara was as a child. Tell me something about you in terms of who were you? How do you describe since you became conscious about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm really blessed to have a mother who I would say is one of the people who was at the forefront of the New Age movement. She is a Steiner school teacher. She is very health conscious and raised myself and my 2 sisters on a lot of homegrown organic food and a lot of the supplements that people are enjoying now, like kombucha, nutritional yeast, and mineral salts, and all sorts of things that somehow found out about this stuff before the internet. So I was really blessed to be primed with a clear mind. We weren't allowed to watch television. We didn't have television in our house. We didn't eat processed foods. We weren't given sugar. You know, there was a lot of, well, we had a little bit, but, you know, there was a lot of health and clarity around the choices that my mum made in my upbringing. And I've been able to see spirits and interact with the invisible since I can remember. And I suppose my family, we weren't religious, so it was all quite open, you know. Yeah, my mum believes in channeling, and she believes in, you know, that kind of stuff. So that was okay for me to be able to speak openly about this stuff. And when she recognized that I had these gifts, probably quite young, about 7, I would say, she was onto it already with me. She really did everything that she could to facilitate my experience through this. So I'm really blessed. And she, I mean, the name that she had at the time was an indigo child, and a lot of people might have heard of this terminology. So this was the languaging around it then for these gifted children that were coming in with these extra abilities. And so she was already aware of indigo children, and she recognized me as potentially an indigo child, and therefore facilitated a lot. So she, I was invited to go and learn Reiki, for example, when I was 10 years old. And then she introduced me to a shaman when I was 12, and I started having, you know, conversations with him. And so it was all given to me very easily in a lot of ways for this to just bloom, and I didn't have to suppress any of it. And then the creative stuff, we're a very creative family. My grandmother's also an artist, a choreographer, and a painter. My great-grandmother played the piano in the silent movies. So there was a lot of creative energy coming through my French bloodline, and my mum recognized that and supported that as well. So yeah, I was really encouraged to do all of it, and to just try it. And I was very driven as well. You know, I knew what I wanted to do. I had very clear ideas. I was able to communicate it. I also understood karma in an interesting way. I don't know if my mum explained it to me, but I remember from a very young age, she said something about indigo children coming in with no karmic, you know, like debris, or that, you know, that we come into a space of dharma, and we get to move in our lives like that. And I really, like, just really made sense to me. And so from a very young age, I understood that I was actually responsible for anything that happened to me. And so, you know, I willingly engage in life. And if I don't like the way it feels, then I acknowledge, well, that I can now choose to not engage with this thing anymore. So I've managed to not really have that victim or that trauma mentality. You know, I've managed to really own everything through this understanding that I came in clear. So anything that I accrue is on me, basically, in this lifetime. So yeah, just
So
really
how,
patience.
amazing. So how did you make those choices? Or, you know, when every human has got some or the other, when they are growing up, they've got so many things around them, surrounded by them. The environmental things comes in place, the environment they are living in, the pattern they are living in, or the traditions they are living with. How did you, as conscious as you are today, of doing so many things? When was it that was embedded? Was it that like easily came to you as a natural to make those choices, make those conscious decisions of what you
Yeah.
want to do at
So
an early age?
yeah, if it pretty much, I realized very early on, if I could imagine myself doing a thing, that meant that I could actually do the thing that I was imagining myself doing.
Right,
And
right.
so I pick things up very quickly. You know, I only need to be shown one time how to do something. I've been really good at handicrafts with my hands and creating things my whole life. There are areas like that I'm not good at, and I've just not bothered even trying in that, you know. But a lot of things have come quite easily, and I find that I've, you know, I don't do boredom. Like I've always got many things that I would love to learn more about, and I've been really curious, and I've always got a project or 20 on the go. And, you know, it's even since a young child. So when I was 14, for example, I was really into drama and acting. That was my dream, was to become a great actress. And so I started a drama club for children younger than me, and you know, we wrote a production and we put it on. And then when I was 16, I went and did work experience at a university in their drama course with the drama teacher. So I got to do like university level drama, and I came back to school and my drama teacher broke her hip, so she couldn't teach our class anymore. So I asked the school, would it be okay if I taught the class while she had her 3 months off with her hip? So they said, why not? They got in another teacher just to sit in the room and watch me teach the class. And I taught all the university drama level stuff to my classmates. You know, I've always just had an ability to talk to adults as a young child as well, to communicate what I want to do, to have a clear vision, to action it, to call a group of people together to make it happen, you know, like and because of this, I have been called aggressive. People think I'm a bully, you know, sometimes people like get excited and then join in on my project and then decide they don't want to do it. And then they say that I made them do something, you know. I don't ever make anyone do anything, but I can be quite excitable and like encouraging to get people to action, you know.
So do you think the environment played a big part in your life, that what we listeners are listening, that, you know, sometimes you don't have an environment, but we create an environment. Sometimes you already have an environment, and then we are asked to choose from that environment. What do you want? How do you want? So like, for example, I'm going to ask you this question, curiosity, body art. Now, is this why body is covered with tattoos or art? What do you see that as? Why, how consciously you thought that, okay, this is something that I can do it, or I don't have any problem of doing it, even though I'm tampering with my own body? Because most of the people, sometimes they think, no, no, I don't want to do this. And sometimes they do it temporarily. Sometimes they do it only for the fun sake of it. What was your thought process to do this?
Yeah, I love talking about this for sure. So I guess initially it started way back. I was probably 10 years old and I'd had a fight with my dad and I was feeling a lot of rage in me. And without thinking, I grabbed a pair of scissors and I went and sat in the garden and I was just scratching at my arm and I was enjoying the pain. And I'm like, I was releasing the anger from my body through scratching on my arm with this pair of scissors. I'd never seen anyone cut themselves. There was no context for this whatsoever. It was just purely instinctive to do something to my body that released this horrible feeling that was in me. And my mum came out and she saw me doing this and she had a very strong fear-based reaction. She's spent some time in mental health and you know, and she's witnessed people, and to her that's a very scary thing to see. Her 10-year-old daughter having a go at cutting her arm with a pair of scissors. I totally understand that. And so in her fear, she was really like, oh, that's terrible. That's a bad thing. You know, that's what crazy people do. Never, ever, ever do that. And like dump this fear on me. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm not allowed to do that. Then when that feeling arose again, you know, in my early teens, when I was like, I've got all these feelings of emotion and I need to do something to mark
to get away,
whatever. I started getting into body piercing initially. Because, you know, they can be taken out. And I was really using my piercings very consciously already from like my teens. When I started getting pierced, it was like, okay, well, I want my lip pierced because I'm, you know, there's something about me talking too much or like, you know, communication or whatever. When I got my nipples done, it was like, I'm over nurturing. I'm giving too much energy out to the world. I want to like intentionally call that back in, you know. So I started working with piercings quite consciously. When I was 16, I was dating a much older woman who had some tattoos. And I just was fascinated with them. I thought it was so, because her tattoos, she'd drawn them herself. And I didn't know that, I thought tattoos were just like a stamp, you know, that you couldn't actually design a unique design. I thought you could just have to get what they had. So I saw that there's this, someone had actually drawn on her skin and it had stayed there. I mean, I was already drawing. I'd been doing art my whole life and, you know, I was good at art and loved doing art. And so that idea was just so amazing to me that you could actually draw on someone's body and it would stay there for the rest of their life. And so I got a few tattoos well before I was legally allowed to get them, just a couple of small ones to sort of try it out. And, you know, didn't really, at my first one, I just picked a Japanese symbol off the wall, you know, courage, put it in a hidden spot where my parents wouldn't see it. And then the second one, I thought, oh, well, maybe I'll design my next one. So I got a little Om symbol and I put that right in the center of my heart chakra. And it was funny because my mum, with her evolved way of being, when she did finally see, I think it was about 17 or 18 when she saw those two, or I showed her my two tattoos, and she went, oh, wow, that's so interesting. You've put the symbol for courage in your sacral chakra and you've put the vibration of the universe in your heart chakra. So she was already onto you know, that I was doing this and it was all on purpose. And so I guess that then like woke me up a little bit more to, okay, well, why do we do this? And once I started, I kind of landed in tattooing. Not really, I didn't really plan it. It just sort of happened. I got an apprenticeship and I loved it. And then I was working in this industry that was all bikers with heavy metal music playing and so much density, you know, all these people coming and getting these awful images put on their bodies for life. And there was so much distortion in that space. And one day I read an article in a tattoo magazine, and they were talking about the people of Borneo and the Ibanese tribe, who are one of the few remaining tribes on the planet that still at that time were practicing their indigenous tattoo methods. And in this article, they were describing that the Ibanese people, it's their medicine women that do the tattoos. And in order to receive a tattoo from a medicine woman, you must leave your tribe, you must go into the jungle, you must have an experience that's worthy of a tattoo. So either you kill a scary animal, you break your leg, something big happens, an initiation happens to you that's worthy of a tattoo. And then you're not even allowed to go back to your own tribe for the tattoo. Then you have to find a neighboring tribe or another tribe. And these are headhunters. These are people who actually will cut your head off, you know, if you don't do this right. You have to go to them. You have to get permission from their medicine woman to be tattooed. You share your experience. She then takes medicine plants. She goes into a trance. She receives the imagery that is relevant to the experience that you've had. She also receives witch herbs and plants to burn, to turn into the ink for the tattoo. So this was my first understanding that there's ceremony and that there's way more to tattoos than what I'd been seeing through this biker dominated space. And that just sparked something in me, and I was like, I need that's the kind of tattooing that I want to do. I even applied for a grant to go over to meet with Ibanese people. I didn't you know, to try and preserve their culture, because a lot of the youth over there don't want to learn these traditional techniques, and so most of this information, probably now a lot of it's all gone anyway. But then I couldn't do that. So I thought, well, I need to tap into my ancestry, and I'm Celtic blooded and Norse blooded. And, you know, when you look at all of us as Indigenous people on this planet, we pretty much all come from people that did some form of body modification, some form of initiation ritual, whether scarring, piercing, tattooing, or other extreme cutting, you know, cutting body parts. And in India, they have crazy piercings, and, you know, people do this to connect further to themselves and to spirit. And so I started noticing when people were coming to me for their tattoos, white, pale skinned people coming in, they were coming at a point of transformation, at a point of initiation, a modern day initiation. So, for example, their marriage had just broken up, their mother had just died, something big had happened to them.
Something event.
Saying, I need to mark this initiation on my body. I need to show that I've had this experience, because I'm now changed, but I look the same. And so I started going, okay, so what is the power of tattoo when people are in this point of initiation or trauma, because I like to rephrase trauma as initiation. Why do people feel this call to come and get tattooed when they're in this space? And then when I look back into the history, us as pale-skinned people, especially Irish descendant, Scottish descendant, we have Pictish blood in us. And the Pictish people were very fierce, tattooed warrior tribes. They went to war with their weapons and no clothing on, because their tattoos were so like impressive that people, that was their armor, you know? And so I started feeling into this idea of, okay, so white people are calling for their body armor to be put back on with these ancient symbols, you know? Why do people always want the same symbols? They just keep coming back through the spirals and the geometry and the birds and these, you know, totem animals. And if we look at how this has happened, a few thousand years ago, our tribal people that were tattooed were invaded by Romans and told that our pagan stuff is not good, right? And so we lost our tribal tattoo culture a couple of thousand years ago. And then the way it's been brought back to us as white people is through soldiers and sailors. So they've gone questing overseas, they've wound up in islands where tattoos are still being practiced, or maybe in Japan. They get shown how to apply a tattoo. They collect a few tattoos because, you know, it makes them look good and tough. They bring them back home. Maybe they figure out how to do a tattoo because they've seen one being done. And now that ancient magic and initiation practice is in the hands of soldiers and sailors, who very quickly then become prisoners, because they you know, a lot of soldiers wind up with nowhere to go, no money, you know, they wind up in prison, but they've still got this information. And so all this magic has been then fed into the prison system, into the biker gangs, all in men's hands as well. I'd like to say, I feel tattoo is much more women's business than men's business in the application, in my feeling and understanding of this. It's a very empathic thing to be doing to someone. You're hurting their body. You need to be able to feel what they're feeling. And a lot of men that I've taught how to tattoo, and men that I've experienced tattoos from, they don't do that. They very much objectify their clients, and so they're not having that feedback loop. But that's a whole nother story. So it's come back into our culture through very dark and demonized and you know, the imagery from prisons and all of that. Like, there's so much darkness has been fed back in. And now I'm seeing a resurgence in conscious tattooing. I'm seeing more people looking to it for ceremony, more people, you know, feeling this ancient calling, because this is actually our tribal traditions that are coming through to us. But you feel the calling, you go into a tattoo studio and you're like, well, there's big things happened. I need something to market. And they're like, well, just pick something off the wall that 5,000, 10,000, 100,000 other people already have on their body, and that's got to do, you know. And then people get these awful tattoos. They're trying to make it symbolic. They're trying to make it medicine. But a lot of the time it ends up making them hate that part of their body. And I do a lot of work where I fix that and I go back over and I like make the tattoos actually represent what they were supposed to be representing in the first place, and make it so that the people love their body again, and it's not that trauma locked in, you know. There's so much to it. There's so much magic in it. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's where I was about to ask. You did partly answer that, but I was about to ask you that question. Like, I understand the resonation, the events that take place, the traditions, the what we call it, the conscious presence of a human being, and trying to connect with the soul that they come from and all that. And this is all an expressive way of tattooing. When you do tattoo, which looks quite obvious, it also gets you pain, but also feels you the pain and also makes you that conscious thing. But I was very curious about that, which I think, wanted to ask is, when being a woman and being a man are there two different dimensions when they do tattoos or when they do expressions? And how did you feel when you did, because I want to ask you as well, because it's your life journey, how did you change your mindset and consciousness being a woman to take that same, what you described, that men never used to wear, but they used to armor was the tattoo, and then they went like that for that. But for women, how did you resonate with that, okay, I want to do this, or this is my way of expression as being a woman also? How did you make those conscious decisions as a woman?
Yeah, so I mean, most of those tribal cultures, the women were also warriors. So the
Okay.
women and men both fought and both were tattooed. In the Ibanese culture, like, the more tattoos a woman has, the higher her hierarchy is in
All
the,
right.
as far as medicine or as far as birth lineages and stuff. So, you know, generally more tattoos equals more status, equals better skills with weaponry, better understanding of medicine. You know, you acquire your tattoos as per your initiation.
Right.
So the more initiated you are, then the more tattooed you would be in our traditional ways. For me, within the tattoo industry, when I started in Adelaide, which was still probably the most biker dominated state in Australia for tattoo industry, there was 7 female tattoo artists and 270 male tattoo artists.
Wow.
So and that was 22 years ago. Now I would say that it's probably almost 50-50 men and women tattooing. So it's been a really big upsurge in women getting into the industry, and then also bringing that femininity and that softness in, you know, and the beauty in the designs and the flow and the gentle holding that's also required. The main things that I found when I started really questioning what are tattoos doing for people when they're coming in this space of initiation, it was 2 things. It was, they're going to receive and they're going to release. And if we can bring consciousness into what we want to receive and what we want to release, then there's the medicine. So essentially, the consciousness in receiving is through the design. Firstly, you know, what is the image? Do we understand these symbols that we're putting on ourselves? You know, are we connected? If we're choosing a very popular symbol that's been, I don't do yin yangs anymore. I like to channel people's own symbology. You know, I feel like we all have a unique essence, and rather than picking a Star of David or a yin yang or, you know, these things that have been going round and round and locking us into this paradigm, I'm expanding. And even the flower of life, you know, I will do an expanded version of the symbol for people. So do we understand the imagery? Are we in a safe environment? Are we feeling like, is our nervous system relaxed while we're receiving the tattoo? Is there calming, inspiring music playing while the tattoo, you know, what else are we receiving? What is the tattoo artist thinking? I mean, when I do body scans for people, when I scan their tattoos, I will actually hear the conversation that they had with the tattoo artist, or what was being played in the background while their tattoo was being done. All that information is embedded in there. So I'm so conscious of my thoughts while I'm tattooing people. If we're not talking, that's fine if there's music playing, but I will not let myself think about anything that's not either completely neutral, like, oh, look at that cute bird out the window, or directly related to the healing experience that is occurring in front of me. If I find my mind wandering off to think about some bitchy comment that some person put on my Facebook feed or anything like that, I'm like, no, you don't. Like, I cut, I'm very, very strict with my thoughts, because even that will influence the amount of medicine that's available. So the receiving can be taken to deeper and deeper levels. Some people, it's just like, they just like the design and they're okay to be like, oh, that's my thing. I only go as far with this as people want to go. I'm available to go as deep as they like, but some people just like pretty pictures and they come to me for those. The release is, we are voluntarily experiencing pain. This is not something many people will do. We are voluntarily giving our blood, our DNA. This is also something not many people do. And we can recognize that, and spirit recognizes that as like true commitment to whatever it is that we're asking to receive. If we're giving pain and blood, I mean, the blood, to me, I see that quite symbolically as they can load anything. So I usually ask people for 3 keywords, 3 things they're calling in, 3 things they're letting go, just to make it really nice and clear and simple. And so the blood, we load up with those things that they're releasing, and I wipe it away and I put it in the bin and it gets taken away and then it's gone, So that's really beautiful in the symbology. But the pain, often people are coming for tattoos to do with things that have caused them emotional pain, right? And so they've been feeling this pain for many years. If we can come in and go, right, I'm going to feel my pain, the biggest I've ever felt it. I'm going to get a tattoo right in the middle of my chest, right on top of my heart chakra. It's really bloody painful. That's a really hard spot to get tattooed. But I do it on purpose. I'm surrendering all this emotional pain, all of the pain around this situation that I'm now healing and closing off. I'm releasing all of that. And then I have a scar to prove it, and then that's it, and it's gone. And the power in that is huge, and the deeper, it's like with any tool, the deeper people want to go, the more they want to apply it, the bigger and better the results are going to be.
Yeah, but I want to ask you here, and that since it's your life journey and people who are listening to that, it is nothing wrong in it when people think about tattoos, or when they want to, why they do tattoos, or why it is for some people important, some people not, and why it is connect deeper level and to just the outer level. They have got different people's mindsets. But in terms of your mindsets, when being your journey, is like, how did you make this, like, from this is like, okay, I want pain, but it's fearful. Pain is like fear. And people don't tend to do things which are fearful, they're fearful about doing things, particularly then harming yourself, or trying to, not harming, but hurting yourself in a way. But it's the other side of the hurting is the pleasure that you want, and the pleasing and the resonation you want from that. How did your mindsets change? With some people who are listening, and they might say, oh, it's hurtful. Why would somebody do, why it is painful? We do painful things. But in your world, in your mindset, how did you make that transition from fearful to becoming fearless and experiencing everything that you always said that you had that everybody comes with some or the other, mindsets. And then we change our mindsets from time to time, what the way we want. How did your mindset from fearful to become fearless? Because once you have started doing things to your own, you can do any damn thing in the world. That's what I see it as a. But how do you describe that, your fearful journey to fearless?
Like I said, that first experience with intentional pain was quite young, so 10 years old when I did that. And so moving, I enjoyed physical pain when I was in my teens and my early 20s. I was into BDSM, and I think because I guess to me, maybe at that point in time, it was to show me where my edges were, because I was quite astral and quite energetic. And so being like squeezed into my body and being tied up and bitten and all that stuff and tattooed and pierced, it was really like, this is where my body is. It actually really helped me to define that edge of myself. Interestingly, as I've grown older, I now experience chronic pain. And so I don't desire that physical pain anymore because I'm well aware of my body due to joints, other stuff going on. So, but back then for me, the pain was never scary. The scary part for me was really the energetics of it all, because I was trying to do, well, I was doing these quite profound healings in a very unsafe space, in this very small, dirty, energetically dirty tattoo studio that had never been cleared. You know, all these people had come for years. It had been a studio for 30 years, this space that I was in. 30 years of people releasing their trauma, their blood, their energy into the space, and no one had ever smudged it, you know. And I'm there in a tiny room with 2 other artists. I had my little corner. I used to have to create this force field little bubble around my clients and like push all this darkness back and hold this light, you know. And I had a lot of negativity from my boss as well, because she said to me one day, "Oh, where do you see yourself in 5 years?" And I said, "Well, I'll be up in the mountains. I'll have a beautiful private space. I'll be doing healing tattoo ceremonies for people." And she laughed and was like, "Ugh, you can't heal everyone." And, you know, it was very negative about it all. Well, 3 years later, I was up in the hills doing ceremonial tattoos in my beautiful healing space, you know. So, yeah, I guess I don't feel fear really. I just have very strong desire. And then if I don't know how to do the thing, I find either the people that have the information, or I find the information somehow. And I like I said, if I can imagine myself doing it, I know that I can do it. So that's all it requires for me is, can I picture myself doing this thing? And I have had some amazing, you know, angels, I would call them, really, like clients and people that have come, that have empowered me through their kindness and their seeing of me. I was very soft back then, you know, even though I looked tough and I was presenting as a very butch woman because I was in this very manly, masculine driven industry. I was totally open heart, no energetic boundaries, you know, letting people just take advantage of me left, right, and center. And I had some good people that came in and were like, "Hey, you don't have to actually do that, you know, like you can draw a line and you can claim some things for yourself." And so I really like a credit. There was one customer one day, I was getting bullied really bad at the studio because all my customers loved me, you know, like they all became friends with me. But the guys that were working there, they were assholes and their customers didn't like them. And if they had the chance to get tattooed by me, then they would choose me again and again, and they wouldn't go back to the other guys. Plus my work was a lot nicer than what those guys are doing, because they were rushing and they just didn't give a shit. And I really cared. And so I got bullied pretty bad in that space for the couple of years that I was there. And one day I was out having a smoke and I was crying because I was just like, I was so passionate about this job, but I could not see how I could get out of this situation and carry on doing what I was doing. And we're really trained, especially when you're working in biker shops, that you owe your boss, you owe them everything, you know, like, and if you don't do what they say, like this wasn't a biker shop, thankfully, but my first studio that I worked in was. And if I had left there on bad terms, or if they found out that I was tattooing from my home, which I did do for a bit afterwards, they would have broken my finger, and that would have been a nice thing to do, you know. Burn my house down would be the other thing. Like, this is real threats. So I was 21, you know. It was big. And so yes, that was the fear for me, was around like retaliation from the industry if I was to try and go off and do it on my own, or do what my gut was saying should be done with this medicine and not do the way they've all been doing it. And I had my drink spiked when I did leave the studio. So this day, this client saw me crying and he said to me, "Chiara, you don't actually owe them anything. Do you owe them anything?" And I never really asked that. And I was like, well, technically I've been working here for nearly 2 years. I was paying 60% commission. So I was earning $5,000 a week and they were getting 60% of that. So looking back on that, I was like, no, I don't think I do. I hadn't really learned a whole lot from them. I already came in with my tattoo skills pretty good, but they put me in an apprentice position because I didn't really have any time in the industry yet. And so I'd made them a lot of money. I brought in a lot of clients for them, you know, like I was like, no, you're right. I don't actually owe them anything. And then that understanding, just like it was freedom, you know. And the amount of times that I've asked that question to people now when they're feeling trapped or whatever, or they feel like they're obliged to do something for someone, or, you know, I'm like, do you owe them anything? Like, do you actually owe them anything? And 99% of the time the answer is no. And in fact, normally we've gone above and beyond what we really need to give the person when we're in that stuck in that situation. So yeah, I just busted out. Another angel came into my life, a city councillor. He was from Borneo, so he understood tattoo magic. And in Adelaide, he's a wonderful man, and he was one of the counsellors for the arts in Adelaide. And a friend of mine knew what was going on and knew that I was in a bit of a situation because I'd set up the studio, but I put it in the wrong zone because I didn't know anything about council laws. So I'd just gone and put a shop in the city, like totally not where you're allowed to have a tattoo studio, because that's adult product and service and it has to be in an adult zone, not in a cafe zone. But then this amazing angel man, he came into my life, and I brought him up to my shop and I shared what I was doing about the medicine of it. And he was so supportive, and he went and he organized all these meetings on my behalf and spoke to the councillors and like got a little loophole written for me. You know, like I said, I'm passionate, and I make a decision and I start my action, and then whatever I need, you know, whoever I need, whatever I need, it comes, like just like you know, I feel like
yeah,
right when I put a big call out saying I'm ready to get bigger, you know, and here you are going, okay, get bigger, you know.
Amazing. Yeah, I think we touched a lot on your journey in terms of your body art, but in through that journey of body art and through that journey of tattoo, I think we have uncovered a lot of things. That how did you channelize your own life with the people around you, with the mindsets of people around you, with the way your conscious decisions to do what you need to do, and not like get sucked in or get victim, even though you had those experiences, but you learned and you changed and you moved from there, which is amazing for all the listeners to listen to this beautiful journey that you had. So I wanted to ask you, because we are almost coming to the end, but I wanted to ask you, like, in terms of these experiences that you had as your own, which is what we all about, is real experiences that you are talking. What would be your message to all the listeners who are listening today, that in life, what are the things, what are the steps, what are the decisions, what are the fearfulness that we all have, and then how do you become fearless? How do you make your own? Because you ultimately went and gone and make your own, and today you are doing few things that one would think that, okay, you didn't had these, you didn't had good, but still you had made. So I am really, really excited to listen from you. What's your message to all the listeners who are listening, that in life, it's so fluid, it's so vulnerable, it's so beautiful, but here it is. How do you make your own life? What would be your message?
That's beautiful. Yeah. So that message has really only just crystallized for me in the last year, you know, and
Mhm.
it's three things. So it's authenticity,
Mhm.
it's which to me is knowing yourself and being yourself. And I've always been a weirdo. You know, I shaved my head when I was 12. I've always worn weird clothes that weren't the fashion. And I don't know why I haven't given a shit, but for some reason I just haven't given a shit, because
Mhm.
I feel confident in who I am. And I
Yeah.
think that probably comes from my family, you know, coming from an environment where I was encouraged to be who I am. And so I'm grateful for that, because I definitely see a lot of people haven't been gifted that as a small person.
Yeah.
To just trust that you're awesome. Doesn't matter. Like, be a weirdo. We're all meant to be weirdos. It's great. Weird is magic. And that's awesome. So authenticity has always been super important to me. And I absolutely, I just, anytime there's mass hysteria, anytime the group are all doing something, I feel repulsed. I really don't want to get sucked in to what the group is doing. I'm always really like, I get, ugh, no, if everyone's doing that, then that's the last thing that I want to be doing right now. So I just have this very strong sense of individuality and authenticity.
Sure.
Sovereignty is my second one, which my understanding of sovereignty is knowing myself as God, or
Mhm.
myself as spirit or higher self or whatever, and having that be my only authority, you know, that really the only higher authority that I will listen to is myself in the form of God. Like, that's it. And that to me is true sovereignty, you know, when you're really, that's the only place you submit to.
Yeah.
Anything else, you can say no. Anything else you can question, you know,
Yeah.
that you have the power to do that. And I guess, again, I've always just known that, like, that I don't have to do what people tell me to do, that I have an innate guidance system that has always spoken quite loudly to me too. So again, I'm blessed in the sense that I hear myself as my higher self or as God talking, you know, not every day all day, but when I really ask and I need to know a real answer to a question, there is that sense of deep knowing and that transmission that occurs, and it has my whole life. And so I've lived guided by spirit, which is me, my whole life already anyway. But I really love to bring people into that understanding that that is the only space that we must submit to is ourselves as spirit. And then purpose is my third one. Like I said, I don't do boredom. I feel good when I'm on a mission. I feel good when I have a task or when there's a creation unfolding, you know. And so through really feeling into not only my own purpose, but supporting other people into their purpose, it's come down to really simple love, you know, just love, be the love, do what you love, find, you know, purpose as love. And then that holds your authenticity and your sovereignty in place. And then you can move through the world smoothly with exciting, amazing magic happening around you.
Amazing, amazing. Now, this is a good takeaway for all the listeners, even for myself, Shiara, that when you said, people tend to get more fearful when they want to become authenticity is the key, as you said, is the first and foremost. And people try to shy away from their own authenticity because they try to follow, they try to copy, they don't want to label themselves. They are fear of getting a label or getting a title, which they are fearful of it because they have to live up to it. But really speaking, what you said is absolutely perfect. Is authenticity doesn't have any labels, doesn't have any identity, just the way who you are. And that is what authenticity is very important. And that also gives, I guess, is another form, is a confidence to your oneself and not dependent on others. And you
Well,
become
it's your
independent.
genius, you know, like
Yeah.
there's those scales of genius. And initially we have to copy and then we can emulate and then we can, then we can start separating from that. And it's okay to go and learn things from other people. Everyone has their own genius that they're bringing, but really, we're supposed to be taking little bits of everything and mixing them all into our own pot and creating our own beautiful stew for the world of like, this is my genius. And I'm not trying to be someone else, because when you try and be someone else, you just keep disappointing yourself because that's not who you are,
100%, 100%. So, as I definitely love your openness and fearless, which is authenticity, has to be fearless. Otherwise, you can't become authentic. But also sovereignty, and the third thing was purpose. And purpose is very important because we don't know why we do things. We don't know why we want to do things. We don't know why. The big why is a big question for all of us. And I think when you said purpose, and purpose is not necessarily just individual or one thing or one side, but purpose of the whole, that we are born in this planet and then we are here with a purpose, because we interact every single day with so many different mindsets, so many different beautiful, authentic people as well. But then showcasing that living among themselves is what is make who we are. And that's our purpose, that how do we, adapt, relate, everything with everyone.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. So listeners, you can see Chiara has given us the three beautiful tips, I say: authenticity, sovereignty, and purpose. And with that, amazing conversation I had, Chiara, with you, for this beautiful conversation of your life journey. But also, everybody can make this their own life journey the way you have made. So I can only say that all the listeners, be authentic and be with a purpose, because we all have come here with our purpose and with our own authentic. So show all of us who you are rather than show who everyone is, Just make that beautiful transition to yourself. And with that, this is beautiful, not just the art of creativity or body art that Chiara has always lived up.
Love to share this painting that I did that's just behind.
Oh, okay. She's a creative. Wow, that's beautiful. That's amazing, Chiara.
Thank
What
you.
beautiful colors.
So my name actually means light, that my name translates to light.
Light.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you have given us the light now today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shailesh. I really, really love the opportunity to talk about all of this stuff, and
Oh,
it's
we will
great.
come back. I think you have got lots. I think you have got lots to talk and you have got lots to share, because I think this is what we it's all about. And, sharing your own wisdom and experiences to increase everyone's knowledge and everyone's awareness. that we are not here to just dictate or force anyone, but we are here to
Mhm.
learn and
Mhm.
explore and evolve with everyone.
Yeah, a friend said the other day, and I'm going to misquote him, but it was something like, "What we don't know, we learn, and what we know, we teach." And
Yeah, beautiful.
really love that as far as,
Very
you know,
simple.
co-creation and this collaboration that we're all in here together. You know, if you don't know it, find out, and if you know it, share
Mm.
it. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I guess the last word is basically sharing is the most important part of our journey. And holding to ourselves doesn't make any good to anyone, nor even to yourself. So holding doesn't make any good. Sharing makes everything possible and everything matters is after sharing. So with that note, Chiara, beautiful, beautiful. I will bring you back. And to all the listeners, if you want to know anything about body art, if you want to know anything about why and how, and this is the big why for everyone, why we can be creative because we are creative, but why we should be fearless. That's more important, I take away from here. And with that note, I take this opportunity to thank all the listeners who are listening to us, but also please write to us. And with that note, we will come back once again with another beautiful topic with Chiara, as we want to uncover now her creative side, which is the beautiful that she showed to us. So thank you so much, Chiara.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Your final word to all the listeners, and we end it with your note.
Oh, I am that I am, Chiara of Sovereign Domain.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. Take care, all of us. We'll come back soon.